Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with a Spain news update, and big news for the Spanish government yesterday as it approved its general state budget for 2022, but more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a donation. You can see your name here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your ongoing support. Now, let's get into the news, and as I said, big news for the government here in Spain yesterday as it got its state budget approved for next year. As we can see here, the government approves the state budget with the highest public spending in history. The Extraordinary Council of Ministers has approved this Tuesday the general state budget for 2022, following the agreement reached between the two government partners. After several weeks of intense negotiations in which the red lines raised by the PSOE and Unidas Podemos have been overcome, the government has succeeded in bringing to light the second budget of the legislature after unblocking the agreement to impose a minimum effective corporate tax rate of 15% for large companies and approving the first state housing law. The draft budget is 2 weeks late in accordance with the strict timetable established in the Constitution. These are expansionary, pro-cyclical accounts with the highest public spending in history and record investment thanks to the injection of European funds. The accounts include more than 27 billion euros of aid dispersed by Brussels to heal the wounds of the crisis unleashed by the pandemic. So the budget for 2022, given the green light, and it's a budget with the highest public spending in history. And as we saw in the article, some 27 billion euros of EU cash added to the budget. Now, I mentioned in yesterday's video that young people here in Spain, people that turn 18 in 2022, will be given a €400 check to spend on cultural activities. Well, one cultural activity that they won't be able to spend their money on is bullfighting. As we can see here, the Ministry of Culture confirms that bullfighting will not be included in the cultural voucher for young people. The Ministry of Culture and Sport has confirmed that bullfighting will definitely not be included in the youth cultural bonus of €400 that the government plans to give to all those who turn 18 in 2022 and which is included in the draft general state budget next year, which the government approves this Thursday in the Council of Ministers. The Minister of Culture and Sport, Miquel Iceta, already explained on Wednesday in declarations to Cadena SER that not all cultural heritage activities were going to be financed. This Thursday, sources from his department have confirmed that bullfighting will not be included in the catalogue of this voucher. So, there we go. Bad news for the bullfighting sector here in Spain, as they have been excluded from the list of cultural activities that people with that €400 can spend their money on. And as you can imagine, the bullfighting sector here in Spain is livid. And as we can see from this headline, the world of bullfighting cries out against its exclusion from the cultural bonus. It's a scandal of cosmic proportions, they say. The world of bullfighting is crying out as one voice against the umpteenth marginalisation of the Sanchez government. The National Association of Organisers of Bullfighting Shows has expressed its strongest discomfort at the possibility that bullfighting will be excluded from the cultural voucher that the government plans to enable for young people who turn 18 in 2022. We consider this to be a full-fledged discrimination against an activity that is legally recognised as part of our cultural heritage by Law 18/2013 of the 12th of November, says the Employers Association. In addition to being discriminatory, the decision, if definitively confirmed, affects the recovery of an activity with an impact of €4.15 billion per year, which generates 54,000 jobs and which has suffered severely from the effects of the pandemic. So the bullfighting sector here in Spain extremely angry, and according to them, it is a scandal of cosmic proportions, whatever that means, that they have been left off this list. So another blow to the ailing bullfighting sector here in Spain. Now, another cash voucher that the Prime Minister announced the other day was a €250 sum that he was going to give to young people between the ages of 18 and 35 to help them find a place to rent. And apparently a previous socialist government, the Zapatero government back in the 2000s, had a similar plan. As we can see here in this headline from El Mundo, from Zapatero's rent check to Pedro Sanchez's housing voucher, a formula that raises prices and encourages the black market. Neither the formula is new nor the original idea comes from Pedro Sanchez. His announcement on Tuesday about the creation of a housing voucher for rent caught everyone by surprise, including his government partner Unidas Podemos. but the previous socialist president, José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero, already implemented a similar measure in the last part of his mandate, and experts warn of the boomerang effect that, as then, it could lead to now. Both vouchers are, broadly speaking, very similar. Zapatero christened his initiative Renta Básica de Emancipación, although it was popularized as Cheque Vivienda, and approved it in September 2007, 6 months before the general elections. So rent checks, housing vouchers, whatever you want to call them, nothing new here in Spain, and it's funny how they seem to pop up just before general elections. Now there's some good news today as far as COVID-19 here in Spain is concerned, and it is that Spain is now at low risk of COVID-19 infection for the first time since July 2020. It has taken more than a year, but Spain has finally managed to enter the low-risk range for COVID-19 infections with a cumulative incidence rate of 48.92 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. This is the best figure since the 28th of July 2020, on a day in which the number of new cases of coronavirus reached 1,807 and deaths increased by 23. Starting in the summer of 2020, which the country faced with very positive coronavirus infection figures following house arrest, the incidence curve began a gradual upward spike that peaked in early November. So finally, the country as a whole at low risk on the COVID-19 traffic light system for the first time since July 2020. So let's hope we stay in a low-risk situation, not like last year, after that brief summer euphoria. Now, one person that thinks that the coronavirus pandemic here in Spain is done and dusted is the Madrid Premier, Isabel Díaz Ayuso, and she announced yesterday that from today onwards, dancing will once again be allowed in Madrid's nightclubs. From today, Friday, we are going to open the dance floors in Madrid. We have to take into account nightlife and discotheques. We have to give young people alternatives so that they also have other places to have fun. This is how Isabel Díaz Ayuso announced late on Thursday that the discotheques will reopen this Friday after being closed for 20 months due to the pandemic. In statements to 13 TV, the president of the Community of Madrid announced that the decision would be published this Friday in the official Gazette of the Community of Madrid. We're going to see if, little by little, the botellones go down, and above all, with the government delegation and the police, they will give us a hand with this problem, Ayuso said. Now let's have a look at a summary of the health situation in Spain. As we can see, that incidence rate is now down to 48.92. There are still 2,088 people hospitalized around the country with COVID, and there are still, unfortunately, 551 COVID patients in ICU. Now, anybody who has lived in Spain or has visited Spain knows that Spaniards are a fairly friendly bunch of people, and apparently it's the friendly nature of Spaniards that foreigners value the most. As we can see here, foreigners highly value the friendliness and kindness of Spaniards. Spain's main strength is its people. This is the result of the Country Rep Track survey, which has analysed the international prestige of the top 55 powers and has positioned our country in 14th place, one less than last year. According to the survey, foreigners highly value the friendliness and kindness of Spaniards, also the natural environment, leisure and lifestyle. Among the weaknesses are aspects such as institutional quality, the education system, or technology and innovation. Canada is in first place, followed by France, Germany and the United Kingdom. One of the main conclusions, which applies to all countries, is that the pandemic has created a depressive climate. So a big thumbs up to the friendliness and kindness of Spaniards, but a big thumbs down to institutions and the education system in this country. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Andrew. In Northern Ireland, there is a high street voucher scheme where you get a £100 prepaid card to use on the retail sector that have been badly affected by the pandemic. They'll have to spend when they get the card to spend money from it until the end of November. Yeah, Andrew, thanks for the comment, and I have heard of schemes like this available in different countries around the world. Here in Spain, I don't think there's a similar scheme, or at least here in this part of Spain, in the Madrid community, we do not have one. And as far as I know, politicians here are not talking about implementing a scheme like this anytime soon. We saw the Prime Minister the other day announce different types of vouchers for young people, that €400 cheque as we saw before, and also that €250 rent allowance from people between the ages of 18 to 35, but there's nothing for the general public as far as I know in this part of the country. And it's a shame because it seems like a good idea to reactivate the economy. One here from FX Rider, how €250 can help anyone unless it's a bribe to get votes. Bankrupt the country for a personal gain. That's what Liberals do. FX Rider, thanks for the comment, and obviously referring to that €250 that young people in this country are going to get so that they can emancipate or become independent from their parents. And a lot of people in Spain would agree with you that it is nothing more than a bribe to get votes. We saw earlier in the video how a similar scheme was used back in 2007 by another socialist prime minister, Mr. Zapatero, and this new plan by Mr. Sanchez is very, very similar. But will it be enough to secure an election victory for the Sanchez government at the next elections? Time will tell. One here from Chris. The contract problem in Spain is due to the unreasonable terms you have to give an employee. I'm self-employed and own a cafe bar, and I can only afford to give employees no permanent contracts, otherwise my employees could make me bankrupt after only about 3 years. The long-term absences from work due to illness is also a problem here in Spain, as doctors are very willing to give out sickness certificates. Small business owners would be very happy to give out permanent contracts if the terms were more reasonable for both sides, but no employer wants to have a gun held permanently to their head. Yeah, Chris, thanks for the comment, and it seems to be a problem that a lot of small business owners here in Spain have, giving permanent contracts to their workers. As you said, you own a small bar cafe, and it's just not viable for you to do so. And small business owners here also have a lot of problems if a worker goes on long-term sick leave. So unfortunately, small business owners here in Spain don't have a lot of incentives to hire people on long-term contracts. One here from UB. Stuart, do you have a counterpart in Portugal? I haven't found a Luso Focus YouTube channel that has as frequent news summary focus content as you, and I love your channel. Do more Portugal, please. Spain's nice, but Portugal is the real deal. Any opinions, commentary on Portimao? Yeah, UB, thanks for the comment, and to be honest, I have no idea if there are similar channels to this one in Portugal that have similar content, news-based content from Portugal. There are plenty of lifestyle and expat vloggers doing content about Portugal, telling us how fantastic Portugal is as a country to live in, but I don't know if there are any people doing news summaries out of Portugal, but if there are, let us know in the comment section below. One here from Dirk. My Dominican wife is going for the Spanish nationality, and for her she can get double nationality, and for her it's possible to go for it after 2 years of living legally in Spain. She is also from a Spanish-speaking country, so she's only got one exam. Yeah, Dirk, thanks for the comment, and I believe that that is the case, that people from Latin American countries and a few other countries also only have to spend a couple of years here and they can apply for Spanish nationality, and they can also get dual nationality, which is something that I cannot. For the rest of us, it's a 10-year period that we have to spend here before we are entitled to apply to become Spanish, and Spain also requires us to give up our other citizenship. So a lot easier for people from Latin America to become Spanish, and as you mentioned there, they also don't have to pass the Spanish exam, which is logical. So I wish your wife good luck, and I hope she gets that double nationality. And finally, one here from Patricia. Thanks once again, Stuart. I agree, property should be more affordable. There are greedy landlords. Just like to say your garden is looking amazing. Yeah, Patricia, thanks for the comment, and I also think that the garden is looking quite good at the moment. It has recovered nicely after the snowstorm that we had earlier in the year, looking quite green and quite lush. And I also agree that property should be more affordable, whether they are to rent or to buy, but unfortunately, as you mentioned there, some people are very greedy, some companies are very greedy, and they have enormous real estate portfolios, and they stuff it up for everyone else. But hey, that's the way it is, unfortunately, at the moment. On that note, I'll wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.